So we're going to go ahead and start. So this is our second webinar, just a couple, just house cleaning things and why we started doing these. So like I said, my name is Ryan West. I'm the Deputy Director of Iowa Workforce Development. This is Kathy Leggett. She's our Future Ready Iowa Coordinator, among other things. And we really wanted to start doing webinars this year in 2020. Actually, we wanted to start them last year, but it didn't get kicked off. And so we put together kind of a monthly format, and the goal was to really, oh, they can't see me with this when I got this on there. Okay, so I should take this off.
Yeah.
Sorry, I want everybody to be able to see me. Okay, sorry, there we go. So I'm Ryan West, this is Kathy Leggett. What we really wanted to be able to do was start a webinar series for 2020 and hopefully expand it and grow it. We could really do a webinar on Future Ready Iowa every month on reentry, on apprenticeships, on the high schools, on employer. It's just kind of endless. So we've been very lucky. This is our second one, and we had close to 300 participants register. That's always a good sign. Even if we get half of that, it's good because we're going to record these and then we'll post them back to the website. So thank you for everybody joining, and I really want to thank the guests for coming on. We really appreciate your time. So we have a lot that we're going to jam in here, so I'm going to shut up and get going. So we have 4 presenters, and 3 of them have their own, kind of a PowerPoint, and I'll pull that up on my end. And so as a presenter, when you want to just say, you hit next, I'll go ahead and hit the next screen for you. So first up, we have Len Gents, who's the operating partner of Waverly and Charles City Pizza Ranch, and his topic is going to be go over hiring Iowans with a disability. And remember, this is successful strategies. That's the agenda of February. So I'm going to go ahead and share his PowerPoint. And if he doesn't, we're going to share to him. Get this right for the 3rd time. Sorry, is he on?
Yep, that's Crystal.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, Len, I see you right there. So we're going to throw you up here.
Let him.
Yeah. So Crystal, if you want to share your screen.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you for including me in this. I've done quite a bit of work since I've been here in Waverly as far as people with disabilities. And I don't necessarily look at them as disabled. I look at what are their different abilities. I started probably 36 years ago with my oldest son, Nick, was born premature with cerebral palsy. And he struggled his entire life to find meaning in what he wants to do. I feel as an employer, it's my responsibility to reach out to those people and find out what can we do as employers to fit them into the workplace. Again, I started working with the high schools, and they have different physical and emotional or mental disabilities, and they're working on getting some job experience by coming in and getting some classroom experience. That has expanded into adults that I've hired. Again, I've had either a caseworker or an individual come in and say, I'm looking for a job. I don't want to work a lot because I have disability income or whatever the case may be, but do you have something I could do? And we delve deep into what it is they feel like they want to do and what their abilities are. We've been able to train people to go from, maybe you start out as a dish person or a busser in our restaurant, and then depending on their ability, we're able to maybe move them into taking care of the salad bar or being a register person. It all depends on what they're able to do. And again, I don't focus on their disability. I focus on what their abilities are and where they can fit into our organization, because it is personal to me. And I guess that's led to the way we are as, you know, a couple stores within the Pizza Ranch chain. I know there's many more out there that have disabled workers working for them as well. And so I think it's not a unique philosophy, but it is something you don't see in every workplace. So, that's really what I have to say, other than continue to look at people, be patient, look at abilities, and train. I mean, I think people would be surprised at what abilities are there if they really take the time to work with that person. So,
Hey,
that's
Lynn, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. This is Ryan. Great stuff. So let me ask you, obviously you have a personal story that goes along with this, which so many times is what leads people to make these changes or really push for this stuff. How do you think that hiring folks with some disabilities has affected your overall business atmosphere, the environment?
And I found this in my own personal life as well. I mean, we have 3 other children that are not disabled. You mix a person in that has disabilities, it makes everybody more understanding, more caring, and they learn from that person as much as that person learns from them. So I feel it's good. I receive many compliments or comments from customers and our community members on, thank you for doing this. Obviously, parents of people with disabilities also feel very strongly about what I'm doing and are very appreciative that we've included them in our workforce.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, I also, Len, I have a question too. Just, you mentioned that as an employer, people will come and say, they can't work a lot of hours, but they could work some. And how is that door opened for you? Because I guess I'm wondering, I feel like there's a lot of concern on the side of an employee by even going to an employer and saying, I can't work a full schedule because I have a disability. What are the options? Do you have any suggestions of how employers can, get out the word that they're willing to have these conversations with potential employees?
Absolutely. The vast majority of, and in our industry especially, the vast majority of the positions are part-time anyway. And whether I need to hire 2 or 3 people to fill one part-time position, that's totally doable. I want that person to be able to work what they're comfortable with. Maybe it's a physical limitation that they don't have the stamina to be on their feet for 8 hours a day. That's great. I have both morning and evening shifts that they could work. If they only want to work 2 or 3 days a week, that's fine with me as well. I think a lot of employers are in that situation. I know it takes time, it takes money, it takes effort to have maybe more employees than what you would normally have. But the people that you employ in those situations, they're the people that show up all the time. They're dedicated to their work, and part of it is your willingness to be part of their life.
Okay, great stuff. You have one more?
I do. I just don't have one more question, but I just wanted to thank you. And again, we're going to move through this quickly, but one of the strategies that we heard not only from you, but from other employers across the state during our employer summits is that willingness to look at something other than an 8-hour schedule. And for some, we had employers who said that's the only way I had scheduled is 8 hours and never even thought of changing it to an every other day schedule or a 6 hours or 4 hours a day, and found some benefits from that. So I just want to highlight what you said and what you've done, Len, as a strategy that has really worked for employers with at many different levels of employment for folks. So thank you.
Can I share on that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
This is Tom. I was just recently at an employer panel from a reverse job fair, and we talked to several different employers, and one of the employers shared, and I asked if it was okay if I shared this any chance I got, and he said yes, because it was so profound and significant for me. He'd recently hired somebody with a disability, took a chance, and he said as far as accommodations and cost, it was very minimal. There was no super cost to it except for a little bit of time. but the amount of money, the return on that investment was huge, because what happened was, they were showing up, and, here in Iowa where it's cold and you get these bad weather days and people are calling in sick and not showing up. Well, not only was he showing up on those days, but he was showing up early, because there was a day where a bunch of roads were closed. And so he's like, he would show up to work and he'd say, well, nobody's going to be here, so I might as well not even plan on any production today. Well, this guy would show up early because he knew the roads were closed, so he would walk to work in this below zero weather, and he had to leave plenty early, and he didn't know how long it was going to take him to walk to work, so he'd get there way early because he wanted to make sure he was there on time. Well, that behavior became contagious, and next thing you know, his other employees without disabilities were coming to work too, because they were saying, well, if he can do it, I can do it, and I'm not going to not come to work and make him have to do all this work on his own. So I'm going to be there too, because he's supporting me. I got to support him. So that behavior became contagious in the workplace. And so the return on the investment of hiring these guys and gals that want to work and are there and have such amazing work ethic was contagious in the workplace. And that improved his return on investment tenfold.
It's
Awesome.
it's great stuff, Tom. Thank you for sharing that. Very profound. Agreed. And Lynn, I echo what Kathy said. Thank you very much for your time and coming on. And everybody on the call, make sure you go to Pizza Ranch tonight. Let's go to the second one. I got to throw that out there for my man for coming on. So next, who's going to come on and present is Nico Aguirre, and he is the Human Resources Director for JBS USA, and he's going to talk about upskilling current employees. And I'm going to go ahead and throw you up here, Nico. Hold on one second.
He doesn't have slides.
Oh, he doesn't have one.
No.
Jeez, I can't get this right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So Nico doesn't have slides, but I'm going to, oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay. So
You should share
Nico,
his
if you can
screen.
share your screen, you're
Yeah.
good to go. Oops.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go. Good job.
Yes.
We got you, man.
Great, great. Let me see if I can get. Are you seeing me? Can you see my screen,
You
myself?
Yeah.
Having difficulty here.
That's okay. Why don't you go ahead
Yeah,
and talk?
just go ahead, Nico.
Yeah.
Just say what you got.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just, sorry about that, folks.
Okay.
Technology, not in the IT. So just a couple things real quick. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I want to commend Lynn, first of all, on the outside of the box thinking. It's really critical. There's a captive audience there. Clearly, there's some good employees there, and I think that's what all employers need to do is think outside of the box. My name is Nicolas Aguirre. Nico's a lot easier. I'm the Human Resources Director for the JBF Swift Pork Company out of Marshalltown, Iowa. So we're dead in the middle of Iowa. We have about 2,300 employees. We're the largest employer here in Marshall County. So we are a pork manufacturing processing facility. We harvest about 21,000 hogs a day, about 5.8 million hogs, pigs every single year. So with that, it's a very difficult job. Most of the jobs that we do have are going to be manual labor intensive, so we need to do some things wrapped around trying to create the best overall atmosphere for our employees while taking care of them, letting them know that we appreciate them. So back in the day, we used to be called slaughterhouses, then we became meat packing houses, but really we're in the people business is what we're about. As everybody on the call is probably well aware, everybody is hiring. If there's somebody out there that is looking for a job, you're going to be able to find it. So I'm sure that's going to be similar for everybody on the call. The most important resource and asset we have is our people. So we need to do everything possible to keep those people. So some of the things that we've started to do on an entry-level basis, looking at some of our production employees, many of them are refugees. They're new to America. They're immigrants. They've gone through dire tragedies and situations in their back home. So coming to America, they're new to the culture, they're new to the language, the expectations, the work ethic that we expect out of Iowa. So things that we've done is we've gotten an active collaboration with Iowa Valley Continuing Education here locally in town. And what we'll do is we will offer English as a second language courses to our employees that'll be free of charge to them. They can level up and continue on until they become proficient. And we know that having a good comprehension of the English language is only going to help and benefit them in all capacities of life. We also team with Iowa Valley Continuing Education to offer GED courses and completion to let them get their high school equivalent degree or diploma through there. Also assisting our employees that are looking to become citizens of the United States is something that we've been able to assist in and help with. And after they become citizens, we get with our local union here. We are a union facility, and they actually help to cover a lot of those costs associated with the citizenship courses. For other folks, let's say we've got folks that go on through this program and they learn English, become citizens, let's say they get their GED, or let's say they're other production employees or folks working in that management, support, salary non-exempt, middle-level management. We offer something internally that's called our Supervisor Development Program. This is a 6-month program that allows an employee to be considered for upward mobility and promotion. Essentially what we do is we put them through a rigorous training program where they are learning everything that what we refer to from the barns, when the hogs are coming in live, all the way to the boxes in our distribution center and everything in between. So you might have an individual that has worked for the facility for anywhere from 6 months to 40 plus years, and they might only be knowledgeable or have experience in the small silo or sector. So being able to go through this 6-month training program gives them a great overview of the entire industry process and programs that we have available for our workforce. After that 6-month program is complete, once it's getting about to the end of it, then what we do is we try to find a specific home where they're going to be able to become a member of management. Now that might be somewhere in human resources and accounting, that might be in sales, marketing, shipping, it might be a production supervisor, it might be in our shipping distribution center. You know, with 2,300 employees, it's a small city within a city itself of Marshalltown. So there's going to be opportunities for growth and advancements should that be something that they want to do. We've gotten tremendous success and great results with our retention and long-term upward mobility. These folks do not stop at just that first entry-level supervisory management position. We actually offer the opportunity to continue moving up and growing after they've shown some successes and some having the ability to excel in whatever area they start out with. There's another program that we've recently implemented circa the end of 2019, referred to our Technical Training Program. This is an opportunity for management that we currently already have in the facility working with us to learn more and gain more insight similar to our Supervisory Development Program. So this is where we're hiring somebody fresh off the street that we know has those leadership behaviors and characteristics that we want in a leader, not in a boss or a supervisor, but in a leader. We bring them in, they go through this technical training program where it teaches them what our business is, what our industry is, and how to address situations when they occur with an employee. Let's say they forget to clock in, their pay is wrong, they're under a different wage, they need to request vacation time off, how to maximize on production and efficiency. And on top of that, we're giving them leadership training and skills, those soft skills, to help them be successful in their roles, in the new roles that we're providing for them. We just started this program at the end of 2019. We want every member of management to go through this. In particular, some of those folks that have already been in their role for 10 plus years, what have you, we want to go back and give them the opportunity to learn different aspects and scenarios of the industry. That way, should they want to move up and continue this growth opportunity, that they have that at least core foundation of be able to say, yes, I have a little bit of information regarding, department X, Y, or Z. So these are some of the things that we're doing to help upskill our current employees, something that we're learning more and more with the younger generations, and I guess I would technically be included in that as well, is they want feedback. Good, bad, or ugly, they want to be evaluated on their performance and know where they have the ability to go from there. So having these type of opportunities and programs in their forefront gives them, puts that carrot in front of the horse to push them towards moving forward and striving for more. That's all I have, folks.
Nico, thank you so much. I think you gave us a lot to think about and especially looking at upskilling, because that's another piece of Future Ready Iowa is looking at the current pool of employees you have and looking at their strengths and their skills and how can they be used to fill some of those openings that you have. And you mentioned even initially any employee from 6 months to a 40-year plus employee. So looking at that whole pool, not counting anyone out. So I just want to thank you for that. I have one quick question, which is with your English as a second language classes, do you offer that? When is it offered? Is it like on lunch breaks or after work? And I think it's on your location, but I'm not sure. So I just want to clarify, because that's a really great strategy as well.
We offer it immediately to employees once they go through orientation, which is a week long. And then what they'll do is Iowa Valley Continuing Education will offer it on their site. We're actually looking at trying to build a training center here where we would have somebody come on site and offer those, because we know some of our other sister facilities offer that. What they do right now is they offer it during 2 different time frames. They'll offer it in the morning time frames around 11 o'clock in the morning. That allows our second shift employees to participate during first shift hours. And then they'll also offer in the evening close to around 6 p.m. in the afternoon to allow our first shift employees to participate in those after they get out of work.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Nico, thank you very much. Congratulations on all your success. I've asked everybody, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in. Just hit through your chat portion, and we'll go back through those at the end if anybody has any. So next up, we're going to have Megan Schulte come on. She's with Human Resources with Frontier CoOp. Hi, Megan. How are you? She's got slides. I'm going to pull them up. Just real quick on Frontier, they've been a huge partner with us, Iowa Workforce, as have a lot of the other employers, but specifically recently about hiring reentry citizens. They've helped us on 2 events now, participate in our reentry roundtables. And essentially, they're one of those innovative companies who's looking outside of the box to hire returning citizens. So Megan, I'm going to go ahead and pull you up here, pull up your PowerPoint, and we'll get started. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, yep, there she is, present. Okay, so you should be able to see this, Megan. If you want to tell me when to hit the next screen, I will hit the next screen for you.
Okay, perfect. Once again, my name is Megan Schulte. I'm with Frontier CoOp, and I run the HR department here. So today I'll talk to you a little bit about our Returning Citizens program, but first I'll kind of let you know about Frontier, because I know a lot of you guys probably don't know what we do. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. Frontier CoOp has 3 main brands overall. We have Simply Organic, Frontier, and Oracacia brand. So basically, our Simply Organic and Frontier brand are urban spice blends. So we do everything from sourcing those materials from around the world. We source from about 50 different countries. Logistically, figuring out how it gets here to the U.S. We do testing on it, steam serialization process, grind it up into the different blends, blend it all up, and put it in these bottles and bags that you would actually see in the store and purchase from. So we have the Frontier Simply Organic, and then on the other side, we have our Oracacia brand, which is a personal care brand, essential oil based, and then all of our products are natural and organic as well for it. So we have these 3 main brands along with the production side of things. We also do distribution too. So we distribute to different stores all around the country, and we also distribute for other people or other companies as well for it. So a pretty big distribution side there. So if you want to go ahead and click on to the next slide. So Frontier, if you guys don't know, is actually corporate office is in Norway, Iowa, which not many of you guys have probably ever heard of because it has a population of about 800 people. So it's just outside of the Cedar Rapids area, about 15-20 minutes outside of Cedar Rapids. So our corporate office is in Norway. We have 3 other locations in Iowa, including North Liberty, Urbana, Iowa, and then Belle Plaine as well. In total, we have 580 employees that are employed here in Iowa. I would say we have about 30 or so that are off-site across the, I guess, U.S., from salespeople to trainers, things like that, but most of our people are here in the Iowa location. So with our Iowa employees, the reason I kind of give you guys a background there is I want you guys to understand that most of our employees are on the manufacturing side of things. So if you want to go ahead and click to the next slide. Out of those 580 employees, about 2/3 of them are from manufacturing. So that's everything from production workers to operators to forklift drivers, pickers, packers, and everything in between on the manufacturing side. So about 1/3 are what you would call the more professional jobs, the office type of roles that you would see. So at Frontier CoOp, one of our main things is just like all of you guys are looking for, we're needing some good employees. And sorry, this looks like the editing and stuff came through here, but you guys can still read this here. So we're hitting the challenge just like everybody else, needing a good employee. So we're facing low unemployment just like the rest of you guys are. Retention rates are dropping because all of us are just stealing people from each other, and the pool is pretty small these days. Along with that, another challenge that we have is we are in rural Iowa, so we're not in the city by any means. You kind of have to go on the outskirts there, which can be challenging. And then fortunately, we have a growing business, but that also throws in another bit of challenge because we're constantly needing people, and that's kind of a never-ending circle there for us. So if you go on to the next slide. So like you guys, we were looking for different programs in order to recruit employees in that were kind of outside of the box. And a couple of years ago, we started looking at different opportunities, kind of seeing what was happening with unemployment rates at that point in time. During our search, we found the opportunity to actually go to the Anamosa Penitentiary and learn about their apprenticeship program. Not sure how close you guys are to any of this, but the apprenticeship program in general is very impressive if you guys were to ever go out there. So they actually have a full manufacturing facility there, and when you walk in the door to their manufacturing facility, you would think you were in any other plant around here in Iowa. So what we found through that program and is, if you want to click to the next slide here, is that they have some people that are really wanting work. So people that have work experience, they have proven work experience. We found through talking to the program, they have pretty strict goals outlined there for their employees. So everything from attendance to performance goals that they have to hit there. They teach them lean manufacturing practices as well. So definitely on the cusp of that side of things on continuous improvement for them. Along with that, some pretty credible references that you will get, and it won't be like their mom or dad or brother or sister like you see in a lot of those instances. And then these people are also just needing a second chance. So as the previous two speakers had discussed, a lot of times these people have something to prove and they just want somebody to give them a chance there and the opportunity to show what they can do. So with that said, we got together with the apprenticeship program, kind of talked about what can we do to kind of match both of our needs and find a positive in it all. And we found that we can actually hire a lot of these people and give them a really good opportunity here at Frontier. So we kind of talked through logistically how we'd make that happen. Obviously, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Anamosa Penitentiary, but they do run the apprenticeship program, but a lot of people are not released directly from there. But we did talk through kind of what that would look like as far as locally for us too, and kind of put together various plans around it and got in touch with various people here locally for us. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. So what we came up with is an initiative around breaking down barriers, and because of the font and the editing, hopefully you guys are able to see all of these. But if you want to go ahead and click at the first one. So really what we looked at first is let's look at our job descriptions overall and really evaluate what the job entails and what skill sets that we need in order to come in and be successful here. So we evaluated our jobs and which ones we were willing to have somebody come in for. Along with that, then we looked at background requirements. So what backgrounds are required for those jobs? So as you guys know, being in HR, and for some of others that are in HR, in order to rule out somebody from a background check standpoint, you really have to prove how somebody with that background would impact this role and why they wouldn't be successful in it. So we are really looking at what are our job requirements and what are the background requirements for that as well for it. After we kind of laid that out and said, this is kind of what we're looking at for a company, we look to partner locally with anybody that we possibly could and kind of talk through how we would lay out that program. The next thing that we did is started small. So we had we actually hired on 2 people and really just saw how that would work out, just to prove it out to managers and employees and everyone else without taking on too much at that point in time. So we started small with it and grew it up from there. What I would recommend if you're starting up a program like this is make sure that you're treating each individual that's coming in, when you're assessing their background and assessing whether they'll be successful in the company overall, is really treating each of their circumstances individually as they're coming in. And last but not least is don't hide from the questions. So I know that I've talked at various times with people and they're like, how did you get this started? What do other employees think of it? What pushback do you get? And I just let them know it's best to be open about the situation and kind of talk through what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do as an organization. And most people are pretty understanding about it overall. So I'd be happy to ask detailed questions about any of that, but just because of the essence of time, I won't go through all those pieces there for you. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of background on kind of what our process was, why we went through this strategy, and kind of the first steps that you would take if you were looking at doing something like this.
Great job, Megan. That's awesome stuff. And I know firsthand just from talking to Tony, the CEO, and our president, and some of your other employees, just how passionate you guys are about hiring insurance citizens. And it's an untapped market that we're trying to help other employers get into. I think your thing that really rings true is, let's assess the background requirements. What is their background? Just because they may have a felony, that doesn't mean that they can't come in and do the job. So very well put and great stuff. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, we have the world famous West Delaware High crew. If you're on social media at all, these guys are out there everywhere. So as soon as I can figure out how to share my screen like a technology person should be able to, let's see here. So
There's their.
oh, right there. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
There we go.
So let me do an announcement here. So Tim Felderman, West Delaware High School principal. Seth Harms, West Delaware High School welding instructor. Jason Geyer, West Delaware High School auto trades instructor. And they're going to come on and talk about their high school registered apprenticeships as a workforce strategy. And I know there's a few others, but I believe that West Delaware is certainly, if not the leader, a 1A in leading high school apprenticeships. So guys, thank you very much for making time. And if you want to do the same and tell me when to click, I'll move through these for you as you need to.
Well, thank you very much. And that's quite a humbling introduction that you gave us. And we deeply appreciate that through all the hard work that Seth and Jason and many other people, not just here within the walls of the school, but out in our community and in various businesses, as well as people in economic development, Northeast Iowa Community College, what they've done to support our local needs. It's been a tremendous team effort, and we greatly appreciate this opportunity. And it's just a reflection upon all the great opportunities that we try to present to our students every single day. So let's click on the next slide. One of the components of West Delaware's vision is 21st century skills. And we really try to dig deep into the 21st century skills over the past few years and what we are trying to do to provide opportunities for students to become more career ready, but especially different learning experiences in a real world context. Click next slide. And as we started to look at this model of both learning about work and then eventually learning for work, we try to emphasize those learning opportunities that are beyond the four walls of school, what we can do to develop both content-specific skills as well as professional skills that are necessary for life after high school and preparing our students for that. And because we know that many of the counties that you reside in have a labor shortage, and we have now tried to almost shift the philosophy of probationary periods on workplaces to now, through the apprenticeship model, that probationary period and training now goes on right here at the high school. And through the conversations that we've had with Greer Sisson at the U.S. Department Office of Apprenticeships, we've come up with some really great examples and some really great learning opportunities for our students here at West Delaware. So from that, I'm going to let Seth and Jason speak.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and switch to the next slide, please. So you can see here some of the partnerships that we have through our program. We've got 3 in the automotive department and also 3 in the welding side. Switch to the next one, please. So the kind of the process and way we do this, students fill out an application. This is exactly like they would in any job. They fill out an application. We go through the applications. We sit down with our team of individuals to make sure that the students are understood, or, you know, the companies understand what the students have. From there, we choose however many candidates we'd like to interview. We give the students an opportunity to do a mock interview. We try to pick out different people from the community in their organizations to work with the students and make sure that they are going to be ready for the actual interview that comes up. They also have the chance to go through company tours. That way they can kind of see what they're getting into and see what the opportunities are going to be for them out there. Let them choose the company or organization that best suits their needs. And after that, they have the opportunity for a formal interview. The interviews that we've run so far, we have one or two representatives from each organization. They're interviewing these students. At that point, I stay out, and I know Mr. Geyer kind of stays out of it too. We take notes. We try to help the students to better themselves in case they do not get hired for that position. And I'll finish this slide here, and I'll give it to Mr. Geyer here for a little bit. With the first days of apprenticeships, they start through all the safety procedures. Most of the time, that's an 8-hour day. So as a school side, we are understanding that they need to go through all the training that any other employee needs to. So they get that day to go out to the company and do the information and go through the information that they need. With our job here, I try to do a check-in about every 45 days. As new individuals come in, I usually about the first 30 days, I do just a check-in just to see how things are going. But I would say as for, contact with supervisors, with mentors, it can be weekly to 90 days. I would say probably the biggest thing that I've seen of importance is choosing that mentor to really help those individuals, choosing someone who is going to be understanding, who is able to work with an individual and know that they are still young and they're going to make some mistakes. And then with the evaluation processes, the state deems a competency checklist. So every 45 days, we go out and we do a competency check-in. Which allows us to see where the students are at, what we need to work on, whether it be at school or through discussion, and see where they're going from there. So go ahead and hit the next slide, please. And I go ahead.
Oh,
if you want to explain yours.
Yeah, the application process for Seth had his going first, so I had a really nice model to follow. Yeah, the mock interviews those were really good for a lot of the kids to get them prepared, because most of the time if they've been just getting jobs at, the grocery stores and the fast food places, it's a very informal interview. And when they show up for their real interview, they're getting grilled by 3 industry professionals, on why should we hire you? What makes you a good fit for this job? So I really believe that mock interview is really important for those kids to be successful. The companies, for the company tours, the companies love this opportunity as well, because it gives those companies an opportunity to sell their business to these kids. It's not too often as a business when you're hiring people before they even apply that you get to sell your company to them and show them what you can offer them before they even come in for an interview. And those formal interviews, I was really amazed at how 16, 17, 18-year-old kids handled themselves. Because these guys were not asking these kids easy questions. They were, one of our apprentices was, he had a little rough go in high school with his attendance and his grades, and those employers, they grilled him on it, on why, how is this going to translate into us hiring you? What's this going to look like in work? So that formal interview it was a very eye-opening experience for a lot of them, because they'd never been through anything like that before. So if you can hit the next slide there.
And this just kind of shows, this is some of the pictures that we have. With our students, many of our students start at under 18 years of age. So with the businesses had to work with the insurance companies to assure that these students could do some of the jobs. Obviously, they weren't able to do all of the jobs. For instance, anything operating of a hoist or fork truck, anything like that. But the students were able to, with the OSHA regulations and the registered apprenticeship through the high school, they were able to do many of the jobs that were required of them in order to complete the competencies.
Yeah, so some of the things we ran into with the autos was like they couldn't drive customer cars. So that was the things that we had to find a workaround, is how are they going to test drive a car to know if they got it fixed correctly. And but the businesses have been great about working around, or they'll send, their mentor will go out on the test drive with them, or so there's a lot of, if they want to be a part of a program like this, they'll find a way to make it work. Sure. So
you can go ahead to the next slide, please. And then once again here, you can see some of our students, they're getting the skill sets that they're needed in order for success. So as we go through the check-ins, I do formal and informal check-ins. With the informal check-ins, I just stop in, ask the mentors if they have any questions. All the mentors have my phone number, my contact. They can call me at any time. All the apprentices have my contacts at any time. So we really work with them to make sure that if there is any situation or we want to stop it before it gets too far out of control. And one thing I think that was kind of an eye-opener to a lot of our industries. They've had some success at hiring our students out of high school. However, I've always believed that the 16 to 18-year-olds are still very, very driven in terms of being consistent with coming to school and, having that work ethic. So when our companies were able to start to get these individuals, they were starting to see that, they don't complain. Our kids are there every day. They work hard while they're there. It's everything that any industry or any company would like to have in an employee. And I feel like they haven't learned the bad habits yet, maybe, if you will, because they're just so excited about the money.
Which they can make a lot. What were you?
Yeah, they can make quite a little bit of money through this program. So far out in our welding, we started our welding last fall, 2018, I guess. We have had 4 graduates through the program. All 4 graduates are still working full time at the industries right now. We currently have 8 apprentices out there. We just started a group in December. So we've got some very new ones running on a level 1 apprenticeship, and we have some what we call level 2s, which are a little bit more, have the ability to go out and do a little bit more of the chores or tasks assigned. And then in the autos trades, we currently have 2 apprentices that are working right now.
And hoping to do another round of hiring this spring, hopefully before school gets out. That way we can get them working full time in the summer, and they can really get a lot of experience right away, so that once school starts up in the spring, the learning doesn't come in a few hours at a time. It comes in a whole day at a time.
So this is a video that we did through our Delco Best class. The situation kind of arose where we were running into a little bit of a struggle getting some individuals in. So I had asked them to make a video. And I think some of the content that was discussed in the video with the companies and the apprentices was very vital. The guy in the first part of the video is kind of a little goofy, but you'll get to see the first part of the video, and hopefully the video is not too big and it works all right. So if we go ahead and click on the video.
I don't think it'll play, but I think I can send it out to the group afterwards.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Basically, it was just trying to be essentially a hiring technique to get some students involved and get them excited about the program. Yeah, like a little commercial. So
infomercial maybe.
And another side benefit to the video as well is the fact that we were able to share the stories from the students' point of view as well. So they were able to help sell the program as well, which is pretty powerful versus just adults talking to students all the time about the benefits.
Cool.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, guys.
Okay. So, what is it important for employers to know? I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier. I would really think strongly about these opportunities for these kids at that 16 to 18 years old. In order to get that, you need to have a school district in that area that's willing to put in the effort and the time to build a program that will benefit you. And if you have that, with that business relationship with that school, I think that's vital. This all kind of started because we've had some pretty strong business relationships in the past, and it was just a perfect fit. And for any employer, if you don't have those business relationships with those school districts, I would highly recommend getting in there, wearing your brand, of your shirt, and being visible with those students. That really gets them fired up.
Yeah, because we've got these business, like Seth's had numerous, the guys from his manufacturing places in his shop watching his students weld, giving them feedback while they're welding before this apprenticeship even happened. I've had some of my cooperating businesses, a lot of them employ some of my former students. They've come back and put on short little presentations on how differentials work or how to change tires, or so being in there so that these kids can see that, hey, when the situation presents itself and they see your name on that list of apprenticeships, places that they can work, they're like, oh, I know that person that worked there. They seem like they'd be pretty good to work for. That's huge, being visible in the schools and building those relationships, because they don't happen overnight. It's taken years for Seth and I to get these relationships to this point with the businesses, but it's definitely worth it.
One other thing to quickly dispel as well is that there may be the thought out there that, you're talking about the U.S. Government, a registered apprenticeship, there must be stacks and stacks of paper. But that was one area that one of our employers readily had talked about prior to knowing more about apprenticeships, is he was very apprehensive about having more paperwork on his desk. That is not true. Minimal paperwork, and minimal might even be a stretch. Any paperwork that is involved with this can be easily done by even a high school principal like me.
Very cool.
As far as the business, they only had 3 or 4 pieces of paper to sign and
Yeah.
you know, the information. So it was their end. It's really easy to get it involved. It's from mine and Seth's end where we're making sure competencies work. And, you know, that another thing that I had to really work around was the time commitment to fulfill all these competencies. Because when we started, it was, what was it, Mr. Feldman, 4,000 to 6,000 hours
Yes.
originally, and we got it down to 2,650. So just a little over, I think we figured 2 years. So if they work all the way through their junior and senior year, they should be able to complete it this summer after their senior year. So,
Very cool. Great job, guys. Thank you very much for coming on and making time to talk about everything. I'll make sure to get an email out with the PowerPoints as long as the presenters are okay with that. Go ahead, Kathy.
And we'll send a follow-up email because we had the ability to hear from several different folks on numerous innovative ways to work to increase their workforce. And then also just in regard to the last topic, a registered apprenticeship with high schools, we have a webinar starting, which you guys know about, but because you're part of it, starting next week, a weekly webinar on how to set up a registered apprenticeship in a high school and how to sustain it. And I want to make sure that everybody listening gets that web link, because if this is something you want to investigate as an employer or a school, then the timing is perfect. So I want to make sure that'll be shared with everybody too.
Yeah, and we had 2 questions and they were sent just to me, and I'm going to go ahead. So Monica, Cynthia, Sabrina, if you're still on, I will get those answers to you. I will make sure that, because they were kind of specific questions, so I will loop in the presenters on those.
Yes.
In the interest of time,
Yep.
since we're closing out, I want to thank everybody for coming on and making time, especially all our presenters. Thank you very much, all of you
Yes.
guys. Great stuff. This is
Yes.
what we're trying to do more of. So if you don't have time to participate in next week or listen next month, but you think you have some counterparts that do, please, parents, students, whatever, have them jump on. I'm not sure what our next topic is next month, but
It's actually funding opportunities to help employers support they're creating their workforce. So we're going to talk about some funding opportunities available to employers
okay.
and how to access them.
That's it, guys. Thank you very much, and I'll
Thanks,
make sure to answer those
everybody.
questions. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, everybody.